When they see it, you'd have to know who you are. Die bist doch a heilig Eloka. You're so ailing, you're so deep. Your mama's more like Kedusha. So don't forget, wherever you go, you're zusammen mit der Bestimmt.
We should all know that going into the high holidays. Baruch Hashem, we are a Yid. We are a Yid. We have that chip inside of us. And we should know that the king is in the field. So I'm like a sensor. It's like a magnet. You know, it's just like in the field, and we're all like just attracted to that magnet. Anyways. 17 days. I don't even know if this is allowed. I have to. I don't know. I guess we're learning the Sichot already. 17 days cover. 17 days. 87 days until the Heilige Hanukkah. 4 days. 3 days until Rosh Hashanah, and 1 day until the Heilige Shabbos. So we have a lot to look forward to. And wow, before we start, since it's Chavruta. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. What was I going to say? Oh, the tefillah. The tefillah b'Shem Kol Yisrael. We got it. It's in print. It's in the middle, and we'll all be able to get our sets very soon. L'kutei tefillah, and have our own prayer. Prayer 139. Baruch Hashem. And let's go by there. So a tefillah b'Shem Kol Yisrael for Pesach Reuben ben Yosef Asara. Baruch Bas Yehudis. Yonah Bas Bas Ashir Bas Bas Sinai Reuven ben Mani and every neshama in Klal Yisrael. Hashem, help us be happy with our share at all times. Let us put our main emphasis on Torah study and only have to work on a casual basis, and even in the short periods of time that we have to engage in work or business or in order to earn what we need for our livelihood. Let us still be attached to you into your holy Torah. Let us never forget you even for the briefest moment. Afilu rega kala. Hashem, please grant us everything we have asked of you. Help us sanctify ourselves by observing the Holy Covenant from now on. Let us subordinate ourselves to you in complete truth. Do not let the least hint of pride or arrogance come into our hearts or mind. Cleanse us of all of our motives of trying to impress others and win their admiration. Let us come to genuine humility. And let your glory be magnified, sanctified, and elevated through us. Help us speak radiant words of Torah and let the words of the Torah shine to us and help us emerge from our low level. Bezrat Hashem Chavra. It's Rosh Hashanah. It's Rosh Hashanah Shabbos. This is it, Chavra. This is the time. This is the time. We gotta be excited. This is huge. Yeah. So halakha l'maisa. Halakha l'maisa. We're part 2 of Chelek 13 in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Siman 129, volume 3. So we're talking about the sounds of the shofar and what's going on there. So when blowing the set of tekiah, shvarim, trua, tekiah, the duration of each tekiah should be as long as the shvarim with the trua. That is, as long as 18 short sounds. It says here in the footnote, the trua is comprised of 9 short sounds. The duration of the entire shvarim is as long as 9 short sounds as above. Thus, the length of the shvarim trua is 18 short sounds. Okay, thank you for the footnote. That was 35. When blowing the set of tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, the duration of every tekiah should be as long as the shvarim. That is, as long as 9 short sounds. Likewise, when blowing the set of tekiah, trua, tekiah, the tekiah should be as long as 9 short sounds, which is the length of the trua. When blowing the shvarim trua, the sets of blasts that precede the Musaf prayer, the shvarim with the trua should be produced with 1 breath. It says here in the footnote, states the Mishnah Berurah, writes that the tokeah should nevertheless pause very briefly without taking a breath between the shvarim and the trua so as not to produce 1 continuous blast. Great halacha and mises. Therefore, the Makre should announce shvarim trua together. When blowing the shofar sounds during the repetition of the Shemona Esrei prayer, the shvarim trua should be produced with 2 breaths. Nevertheless, he should not pause between them. Rather, they should follow immediately one after the other. The Makre should announce these 2 also at one time. Shvarim trua. It says here in the footnote, if the Makre would first call out shvarim and wait for the tokeah to blow the shvarim before calling out trua, then the tokeah would be liable to wait for longer than the time it takes to take a breath between the sounding of the shvarim and the sounding of the trua. This is great halakha, Chavra. This is great to know. We're knowing the intricacies, the details. We're detail oriented. And we want to know what's going on. Yishma, Chavra, Sicha 87. Sicha 86 was a tough one. It was a action-packed one. It was a sweet one, talking about wedding customs. And we kind of went right there with it yesterday. It could have been, like we said yesterday, it could have been 50 parts. But go weiter. Sicha 87, right? We're talking about the crying for a beautiful Etrog. And it's amazing because, this is the time, like the Sichot are the times that we're in. Right, and after Sicha 87, we have free speech, which is referred to Pesach and all of that. And then in 89, we have cleaning the slate with kindness, right? And we're going to be in Aser Samei Shuvah, Bezrat Hashem. And what else do we have? We have preparing for sleep. Oh my gosh. I heard the other day that Rosh Hashanah, we don't sleep because if you sleep, it's a segula that it's a sign, that you're gonna have a sleepy year. There's a lot of how to love the Torah, Sicha 91. I think we're going into all the holidays here. And Sicha 92, the time for battle. So we have a lot. We have a lot, but right now, Sicha 87, crying for a beautiful Etrog. Okay. So Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur make it appropriate for one to possess a beautiful Etrog. Chavra, what does this mean? Thank you. Okay. This is a new thing that we're going to be doing, Baruch Hashem, is we're trying to evolve always. This is a personal thing. I'm sure you guys give your gratitude, show your gratitude all the time to the tzaddikim and to the earlier works, to this farm that we're learning in. But it's mamish. It's every single day, every single second. The gadlus, the chachma in these farms is unbelievable. And where would we be without the tzaddikim? Where would we be without BRI? Where would we be without Rav Chaim Kramer, Rabbi Rosenfeld, Rav Tzvi Kramer, with all its tzaddikim? Where would we be? Rav Kaplan. So the footnote tells us to refer after the first line, right? The first line says, just to repeat, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur make it appropriate for one to possess a beautiful etrog. Now, what does this mean? So if we look at Sichot Haran 125, on Sukkot 5570 in 1809, the Rebbe spoke about the etrog, saying that the mystery of the days of awe requires one to have a beautiful etrog. This was discussed earlier. Etrogim were impossible to find that year, and the community had already resigned itself to do without one at all. We're put ourselves in 1809. We're seeing what it's like in the days of Rabbeinu. There was not an etrog to be had in the entire land until just the day before Sukkot. Then, in his own miraculous ways, God made it that needed etrogim reached several nearby towns. These fetched premium prices, and in some communities were sold for as much as 50 rubles and more. Here in Breslov, the Rebbe was able to obtain a particularly beautiful etrog. He was so overjoyed that he asked us to bring musical instruments and play for him, making it an occasion of celebration. However, we got to do this. I didn't know anything about the etrog before these lines. The significance is crazy. I'll be one of the people who dance. All right, I'll be one of the people who do the somersault. So feel free to call me when you buy your etrog. For 3 continuous days, he was so inspired by the etrog that he did not feel his terrible illness at all. His joy was so great that his terrible revived his health. It literally revived his health. He continued to speak about this etrog even after Sukkot. He said that we have no idea how precious is the mitzvah of etrog and how high its level is. The fact that Jews spend more money for the observance of this mitzvah than for any other is not without significance. It shows that this mitzvah is precious beyond all measure, even though we might not be aware of it. If people knew the true greatness of the etrog, they would do who knows what for it. The Jews are a holy people. They are very wise and not easily fooled. They spend much money for etrogim, and this is certainly good for reason. This is certainly for a good reason. The Rebbe spoke about this at length, emphasizing the importance of the etrog. So that was a little tangent, but it was important to know the picture that happened in Breslov that year in 1809. Okay, so we're continuing on with this Sichot. People say that a fool has a beautiful wife. The etrog is comparable to a wife. The etrog is comparable to a wife. It is written in Shir Shirim, you are entirely beautiful, my beloved, and have no blemish. The Tikkun Zohar states that this is the etrog. Chevra, right? So beautiful wife and etrog are connected. It says the Tikkun Zohar. This is the etrog. So if we look at the last Sicha, I don't know if it's connected, but we'll just say anyways. Right? It's customary to cover the bride's face with a veil. This is Sicha 86, wedding customs. Rachel is the beautiful girl who has no eyes. This is the bride. It is written, God's glory is to hide a thing. This is a Mishlei. This also speaks of the bride. Right? So the wife is hidden, God is hidden. Right? So yeah. So maybe it's connected to this. It is also written in Shemot. Behold, the child was crying and she had mercy on him. The Tikkun Zohar says that when the Jews are like this crying child, they awaken Hashem's mercy. However, this is so nogad. This is so applicable to the days right now. In Elul, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, 3 days, 1 day until Shabbos, 17 till Sukkot, 87 till Hanukkah. It's unbelievable. So when the Jews become such a child, they must have a beautiful etrog. A fool has a beautiful wife, right? We said that at the beginning. People, like in the beginning, it says, just to remind everyone, people say that a fool has a beautiful wife. So a fool has a beautiful wife. The more the Jews personify a crying child, the more they deserve this beautiful etrog, right? So we have to be the crying child, right? And we know from the Katzker Rebbe, the greatest cry maybe is not to cry at all. Rabbeinu tells us that the tears need to be genuine, right? They can't be forced. So whatever our interpretation of crying child means, we have to open up our hearts. We have to meet the melech in the field. The world says that a fool has a beautiful wife. We have to show up. The world says that a fool has a beautiful wife. Following is the reason for this. Intelligence lies in the brain. Clever, we're going to need you here. And Baruch Hashem, in the sukkah, we have a lot of seats. So hopefully some of the clever come on soon, because I have no clue what's going on. I know that Rav Chaim Kramer came out with a book, The Soul Anatomy. right? Which I'm sure talks about this a lot. But anyways, let's go weiter. Intelligence lies in the brain. The brain is nourished by the marrow and the bones. It is written in Iyov. The marrow of his bones is moistened. The marrow is sustained by the fats and fluids of the body. Since the fats and fluids are what sustain the marrow, they maintain the intellect. Therefore, the intellect is sustained through the body's fats and fluids. The fool has limited intelligence. The fool has limited intelligence. One sec. The fool has limited intelligence because his brain cannot draw from the marrow in his bones. Therefore, his bones are left with an overabundance of marrow. It is written in Bereshit, however, we all know this. He took one of his ribs and made it into a woman. A man's destined mate is taken from his bones. A fool's wife then receives an overabundance of marrow, right? The wife, right? The beautiful, unblemished wife, the Etrog, the whole thing. Therefore, she has a deep and inner intelligence because she's able to receive. It is written, a man's wisdom lights up his face. Beauty comes from the intellect. Consequently, a fool's wife appears beautiful. So the overabundance, maybe this is what we're saying. This is why the wife is she had the overabundance of marrow, because the marrow is sustained by the body, by the fats and the fluids of the body. And since the fats and the fluids are what sustain the marrow, they maintain the intellect, right? So the woman has intellect, the woman's beautiful, she's everything. So Chavra, Bezrat Hashem, it's just good to get exposure to this Torah. Obviously, there's inner dimensions that I'm sure you guys are aware about. I'm definitely not. But we all know from Rabbeinu, we go weiter. It's better to read the words, and if we're stuck on it, we all know Rabbeinu went through the Shulchan Aruch the first time. I don't know what age he was, probably very young, and he went through it through a simple level, right? Pshat, and that simple level, mamash, we don't even know how deep it is. We don't even know how high level it is, right? Compared to someone else's simple level. We're talking about Rabbi Nachman over here. It's Tzaddik Gamor, Rabbeinu. Right, but the second time he understood the Talmudic law, right? The connections with the halachot and the sources. And the third time when he went over, he knew the Kabbalistic meanings. So Chevra, Bezrat Hashem, next time we go through, we'll know a little bit more. And the next time we go through, we'll know the inner dimensions. The what it really means. A beautiful wife compared to an Etrog, and a fool has a beautiful wife, and being a crying child, and a crying child deserves a beautiful wife. The whole thing. And Chavra, it's just going to get more Kabbalistic from here, and we just have to get more simple. That means, or meaning we have to get more simple. So Chavra, be well, and be b'simcha. Have an amazing Shabbos. Have an amazing Rosh Hashanah if we don't meet on Sunday, and let's fire it up.